Very good. So I will first of all say good morning to everyone, to all the participants, and to you again, Rafa. Many thanks for the participants to join today's webinar on how to create a cross-border e-commerce store in China. Now, this webinar, we originally conceived it for Estonian software houses. We've mentioned many times that cross-border e-commerce has an important role in China, and it is still on the rise. One of the most recent examples is from last September 22nd, so a couple of weeks ago. Chinese government has indeed added 3 more free trade zones to the already existing ones, and now the total number of free trade zones has increased to 21. And the main objective of this webinar is to inform on the concept of the cross-border e-commerce, and to provide an understanding, the tools to Estonian software houses on understanding how it works and deciding whether they want to implement such solutions for the Estonian companies that might be interested in developing their own cross-border shop to sell to China. Before leaving the word to Rafa, I will do a brief introduction of Rafa. So Rafael is the China expert for the Estonia Asia Trade Agency, and regarding this specific topic of cross-border e-commerce, he has already developed a guideline, a European Union guideline for the setup of a cross-border e-commerce shop on WeChat. I would leave the word to Rafa now, and just remind you all that we have a Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. So please feel free to input all your questions there. I will make sure that Rafa receives them. And let's start with today's webinar. Thank you, Rafa.
Thank you, Ilaria. Welcome all. As Ilaria said, in principle, this seminar was aimed for software houses or logistics companies in Estonia, or system integrators, developers, whatever the name you want to use, for one reason, because some of you are logistic operators, some of you are just companies that want to sell into China. However, at the end, you need to have some sort of implementation. We would welcome at Enterprise Estonia to have some, let's say, national company providing the implementation. Of course, there are others that can do this, and Ilaria and me, we can point you to a list of companies that can help you to set up a cross-border WeChat shop in this case. But I would like to Estonia industry understand well how is the process, including logistics and including some other things. So maybe some of these companies decides it could be a good business to do it for Estonian companies, and then we can close the circle. We can have suppliers, we can have logistic operators, and we can have a company providing the nuts and bolts that are needed to export via cross-border to China. As Ilaria said, any question you may have, just send to her, and she will decide if interrupting me or not. I mean, she's moderating this. We are scheduled for 2 hours. It depends very much on the number of questions you may have. Of course, we can repeat in the future if needed. As for the information, as Ilaria said, I drafted some time ago for the European Union the guideline. So as I am the author, I have the right to distribute. And Ilaria will make sure that each of you attending this webinar receives the PDF later. And if you have any question about the content of that PDF, then contact Ilaria or me, because we were the authors of this document. So of the European Union also. Actually, we know everything about this. In principle, I thought about this index. I mean, 1, 2, 3. But after 2 years in Estonia, I know Estonians are very pragmatic people and they want to jump into details immediately. So thinking this morning about how to structure this presentation, I decided to change the order. And instead of sorting like 1, 2, 3, I decided this, which is first to tell you good news, which is how Estonia is doing during this COVID crisis, doing regarding China. And the good news is Estonia is doing very well. You can see here what happened during the first 3 months, where we suffered that China was basically closed. So if you see the red line, which is 2019 exports from Estonia to China, you see that is above the black line, which is 2020 exports from Estonia to China. So it had an impact, and you can see here that the growth was negative during the first quarter. I mean, exports of our country to China were less than the year before. Estonia is very resilient people and companies and reacted quickly, adapted. They suffered in other markets, but one thing of China, which I want to stress, is the perfect market to consider as an option when there are difficulties. Not that you will succeed immediately, but given the size of Chinese market, well, I encourage everyone to take a look. The presentation of today talks about exports, but we will stop a bit because there are logistics companies here about both ways, imports and exports, because some of the companies listening today are interested in cargo business. And cargo business is very much related with cross-border, and cross-border is changing everything. It will be a boom of cross-border things for reasons that I will explain in a couple of slides. So it's not only for exporters, but also for actors of the supply chain. And logistics companies are not longer only freight forwarders, they are much more added value companies. So I think this could be of use for them. So congrats to Estonia exporters, because if you see the trend, we cannot guarantee the future, but with this trend, in 3 years, Estonia would be exporting $500 million to China. Let me tell you that $500 million is already a serious number. And we could congratulate all of us and the companies. The most important thing is the companies, because achieving that mark of $500 million would put us in a league that not many countries are. So let's go for it with your help, and let's start. Ilaria talked about free trade zones, okay? You can see in this picture some gentlemen and one woman, Chinese, where you see some Chinese with some Irish people, and this is 40 years ago. Why I'm putting this picture? Because Chinese are long-term planners. When they learned that the first free trade zone in the world was established in Ireland about 1950 something, so a long time ago, they wanted to know what it means. And they wanted to learn everything. So already as far as 1980, they sent a team to Shannon in Ireland to learn. All right? Well, proof of the importance they assigned to what was going on in Shannon in Ireland is that they sent no other than Jan Zemin. Mr. Jan Zemin, you might not know who is he, or you might not remember, but he would become 9 years later the president of the People's Republic of China. So they are long-term planners, they took these things seriously, and it's precisely these days that the first special economic zone, Shenzhen, was established and China is celebrating. Estonia has 3 or 4 free trade zones that, in my opinion, but this is personal, are underused. And Chinese are magicians using the free trade zones. So I would suggest to have a look to see if we can arrange anything with China to leverage the free trade zones existing in Paldiski, Muga, etc. Okay, I believe there are some questions. So Ilaria, you can interrupt me when you want.
Yes,
And,
actually, I don't know if you want to, probably it's better to take this question now since you just mentioned the exports from Estonia to China. There is
yes.
a question regarding the sectors that led the growth, let's say, towards the exports to China.
Okay, for many years, this is changing, but for many years, the number one is for Estonia's electrical machinery, for many years. This is part of processing trade. I mean, it's not general trade. It's processing trade for one reason, because China is the largest importer of electrical machinery in the world, and also the largest exporter. So about 40%, 20%, sorry, of China trade is processing trade. They import things, they add some value, they re-export the things. After that, we have this year a very good year for some food stuff, for pig. I have to say that areas like furniture, unfortunately, the damage of COVID is big. Clothing is also damaged by the COVID thing. And wood is also has decreased, but for temporary reasons. So most of the sectors remain the same, which are electrical machinery, usual machinery, seafood, pig, which is extraordinary, the growth this year. And let me tell you something. There was a sector which is dairy, where 2 years ago, Estonia was exporting to China exactly zero. Not a little bit, zero. Well, my prediction is this year that would be a business of 6, 7, 8 million euros, and can be 20 million euros, which is about 10% of Estonia exports now, very soon. So it shows that when we take China with a plan, it's not easy, but takes some time. China can absorb a quantity that is far above what any other country can do for size reasons. So that's also why I encourage people to look into China, and we are here to help. Okay? If there are further questions about the export, let me know.
Yeah, for now, no, I think we can continue.
All right. So let's take, forget free trade zone for now. We will talk about free trade zones later. And let's talk to you, to the people, very simple how this work, because you want to know if you want to export cross-border, I mean, without an importer in China and sell directly to consumers, what are the elements that you need? So here, let's go through the upstream flow of goods. Of course, we are in European Union, and previously, the goods that we plan to sell to a Chinese consumer that is here in his house or her house, we want to put in the hands of this consumer and getting the money, some product we have. We could consider cross-border like shipping to the consumer in China directly, but this will take too much time. No consumer in China will wait 2 weeks for receiving a thing. For them, this is not acceptable. It's the way it works online there. It's immediate, and it is 24 hours, 48 hours at most. So we could not dream to have a website in Estonia and trusting that some random Chinese would purchase from our website and order and wait 2 weeks. That will not happen. Another reason is because they don't speak much English and they don't know who you are, and they will never ever explore your website. For that, they have their own e-commerce platforms, and they are not interested at all in exploring any foreign website. It's the way it works. I know it's surprising for people in Europe, but they will never check your website. they will want to check their online commerce platform. So if we have the product only in Estonia, it's not useful. So we should send, and we'll talk later how to do it, this product, imagine this, some snacks, to a free trade zone, to a cross-border area. Why? Because there will be kept by some logistic operator into a warehouse, will not pay taxes until they leave the warehouse. So somehow what I'm doing is a deposit of my SKUs, my stock keeping units, instead of in my warehouse in Viljandi, in a warehouse in a free trade zone in China. One of those 21 free trade zones that Ilaria mentioned at the beginning. All right, then we should have a shop in WeChat. So we're talking about different modules. That's why this seminar is interesting for you to understand what are the different modules and who has to make them or all of them. So let's suppose that a Chinese knows your WeChat shop and he finds a product that he likes. So at the end, I had a product in Estonia, I put into a cross-border area in some warehouse, and the Chinese could see that product in your shopping WeChat. And let's say we have completed the upstream part, how to send and show the products to the Chinese consumers or companies, because this could work also for B2B, as we will talk later. Okay, so eventually this product is delivered to the Chinese consumer. Who delivers this product? The logistic operator based on the free trade zone. All right. So we have completed going from European Union to the house of a Chinese. And in this process, the product went to the cross-border area. Someone in, and I put the phone deliberately. They will never do this through a website on a desktop, I tell you. Chinese will buy on the phone. We will talk about why you have to consider some design things when thinking about selling cross-border. So this would be how it works upstream, all right? Of course, you want to get your money back. So how does it work downstream? In China, for you to know, they are afraid of corruption and afraid of people sending money outside the country or illegal outflows of money. They control very carefully. And by very carefully, I mean paranoid, the outflow of money. They don't want to lose foreign reserves. And the yuan, as you know, cannot be used outside China. So any Chinese to purchase something outside China needs dollar or euro or yen or Australian dollars or Canadian dollars, I mean currencies that are converted easily. So they control carefully the money that goes out, all right? So this is monitored by the Chinese government. And how do you receive the money that of course you want to arrive in euros or in dollars, because with yuan in your bank account here, for now, you would do nothing for now, maybe in the future, yes, but not now. Okay, so how it works is once the consumer at home has decided to purchase your product, he enters into the wallet, which is fully integrated with your shop. He goes to the pay option. He clicks paying, all right? And this arrives, we will tell how to integrate to a payment gateway authorized by the Chinese government, not any payment gateway. All the payment gateways have to be integrated with a clearing house, a financial clearing house of Chinese government. So Chinese government, let me tell you, knows how much exactly each Chinese consumer is purchasing abroad. Each single, and they have a quota, which now is about 5,000 euros per year. We talk about the quota later because it's not a problem. The Chinese solve this very easily. How? If they are out of quota or exhausted the quota, they call the brother, the mother, the father, the friend, and say, how is your quota for purchasing abroad? Oh, I'm not using it. Okay, order this for me. So this is the way they solve them. So the quota is a kind of virtual quota. Ilaria, I think there are more questions,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly, because indeed for the payment gateway,
Yes.
there is Caleb that wants to make sure if there is any check or balance system that's in order for you to be assured that you're being paid.
I understand the concern is if I will be paid, right?
Yes, correct.
Well,
so to see that the money are actually arriving in the shop.
Well, the logistic operator at Free Trade Zone is connected. So he will not dispatch the goods unless he's paid. All right? Also for one reason that we will talk later, the logistic operator is responsible for deducting the VAT, which is 12% for cross-border things. You can trust the logistic operator in two ways, receiving the payment and paying the VAT, but only for one reason. Because if the logistic operator at the Free Trade Zone does not pay VAT, we lose the license. And it's a phenomenal business. So they will not take any risk to cheat the Chinese government because they will be kicked out of the business. As for the payment, well, all the payment platforms are recognized payment platforms, even one from Estonia, okay? So you can make a test. And of course, you can tell your logistic operator, do not even dream to send the goods if you didn't receive the payment. So you have to be connected with the logistic operator, which is easy. And then all works smoothly, okay? So I can guarantee that this is working and the logistic operator has no interest in picking up your money. And if they do, they can do once, only once. And this, we are talking about orders from consumers, which usually are in the range of 300, 400 yuan at most, all right? So trust, this works. So I was saying that you connect with the payment gateway. I'll tell you how to do it because we need to convert this money. The Free Trade Zone allows this conversion. This conversion, if you go outside the Free Trade Zone, it requires a lot of paperwork, all right? So eventually the payment gateway, we can talk about how long it takes, converts the yuan into euro, sends to European Union, to your bank account, and you receive in your phone a notice from your bank saying there is a payment already in euros, okay? The companies providing the gateway usually offer a lot of services, very cheap compared with the banks, and usually suggest you that you do not convert and send any single transaction because it would be a little bit too, the burden of transactions would be too much. So they say, they negotiate with you. What is the quantity you want me to collect to make a transaction? And you can say, well, okay, let's send to me every 5,000 euros that you collect. All right, other people says every 1,000, others says every 10,000. So they pick up everything, and when they have the whole batch of money, they send to you. This can be negotiated with the payment platforms, and it's not expensive. And it takes about 48 hours. I mean, then you can even see the messages, how they go to US, come back to different gateways and arrive to your bank. Okay. So we have seen the, let's go back and review for you, the upstream flow of goods. We have to send to a cross-border area because we have a Chinese consumer that is watching our product into a WeChat shop. Then the Chinese consumer is convinced to buy, so puts an order, pays via WeChat Pay or Union Pay, which is the debit card standard in China. It's a state-owned enterprise. By the way, if you ask me, can I use Alipay? The answer is no, because Tencent is the owner of WeChat and they don't get along very well with Alibaba, which is the owner of Alipay. So you will not have Alipay and WeChat Pay into your shop together. That is not a problem for one reason. All Chinese have the two. So because they have the two payment methods for in the cell phone, for them is no difficulty to switch from one to another, and they don't consider this is a problem. Payment gateway converts the money and sends to your bank in the European Union, and the payment is notified to you. Okay. We need to go a little bit into the modules. We have the shop. We will talk about the shop later, more in detail, because if you are a developer, you need to understand how to make a shop. We will talk very little about this, and throughout the, let's say, a set of trainings advanced for e-commerce with China, I'm sure one of the modules will be about how you need to proceed to make a shop for Chinese that Chinese feel comfortable. What you see on the right is a WeChat shop for health products and medicines, etc. Okay. So the second module we need to understand exists and realize that if I put the shop, immediately people listening would be thinking, oh, I design websites, I design e-commerce shops, I know a lot about this. Okay, good. You need to learn a little bit more about the Chinese consumer and how they work with the user interface. But my message today, it's not enough to know about this. There are other modules, and the same for the other people. A logistic company might think, I understand the logistic part. Yes, very good. It's part of the talk today, but you also need to understand that the other people attending this seminar, what they want is the full thing. They want the full shop working. So someone needs to take care of the whole thing. It's not, I will do only the user interface. Well, that's cool, but if you don't help me to integrate with the payment, I didn't solve my problem. And others will say, I am a payment gateway, use my payment gateway. Well, very nice, man, but with the payment gateway, I didn't solve to make the shop and I didn't solve the fulfillment. So the end user, which is you, some of the companies today listening, does not care about the different ingredients of the solution. What they really want is the full solution. That's why we designed this not only for suppliers in Estonia, but also for logistic companies, for software houses, and for system integrators, because we need a full view. So the next is, okay, we have the shop, but we need to, through APIs, it is not difficult. We need to integrate with WeChat Pay. I mean, I put the shop, and now if someone clicks, I want to buy this 200 renminbi, how do I connect with the wallet? This is done via APIs, and it is not difficult for people that knows how to do this thing. All right. So for the audience that wants to build the whole thing, we have talked about the shop so far, about connecting with the payment of WeChat, which is this. Now, next step is not enough to do the payment with WeChat. We need to connect with the logistics in the free trade zone, all right? Because we need to notify the company that we will use for fulfillment and for storing our goods at the free trade zone that an order has arrived. So you see there will be also a connection of the shop, and logistic operators usually provide the APIs so they are informed that an order has arrived to start the process of fulfillment. So we need to connect the shop with some small software development with our logistic operator of choice at certain free trade zone. Can be Shanghai, can be anywhere. By the way, as I mentioned before, the logistic operator will subtract, will retire from the money, the VAT, and will pay to the government, and will start the fulfillment of delivery. Usually delivery will take, there are logistic operator companies that say, Rafa, with our network, we can cover 400 major cities, which is something like 800 million people in less than 48 hours. So, which logistic operator you choose? There are Estonian logistic operators in China. It's up to you, but you need to choose one, or you need to work with someone that already has an agreement with one. Okay? Of course, you need to connect with the payment gateway. There are tens of payment gateways. Some of them are Estonian. This is not difficult. Again, they provide some APIs, so you connect with them. They do the clearing of renminbi into the moment the transaction happens, not in the moment the money is sent, in the moment the transaction happens. Okay? They convert into euros or dollars or whatever other currency. Usually they manage international currency. They send the money to the bank account of the company in the European Union, fully legal, all disclosed, all the data, and keeps accounting of the transactions that are done on your behalf. This is important because to avoid any problem in Europe and in China, it must be very clear that the flow of the goods is always the opposite of the flow of the money. This is the best way that everything is clear and clean. And Chinese will verify this happens this way all the time. You send goods this way and you receive the money the opposite way. Any consideration to send the goods this way and receive the money or send the money to another place will immediately alert banks. They don't like to see triangles. They start immediately thinking something is going on. And I suggest you make it clear and work with systems that you send goods, you receive money. Not you send goods and money goes to Monte Carlo. You will have a visit either in China or in Europe from someone asking questions immediately. Okay? Finally, not finally, because many things will be needed here. You receive the money and that will help to you to have your accounting, to have your inventory management. At this point, you need to know, well, I have one less SKU in China, has been sold and delivered. So I need to do my inventory management. Do I need to send more things to my warehouse in China? You need to pay your taxes and you need to consider if it's needed further shipping of goods, so you have enough stock in China, etc. So this was the quick glance before to enter into big details, because I wanted you to have the whole picture. Look that the actors here are many. That's why we aim this talk to people that could do the whole integration. Okay, we have on one side a consumer that sees the world and your product through a cell phone. And in the cell phone, what they see is a shop. That's one thing. But eventually they decide they need to purchase or they want to purchase something. Now we connect with a payment method which is from a Chinese company. That's the second thing, which has nothing to do with the product you sell. This payment is done and you need to do the fulfillment of the product. So this involves some logistic company that will do this for you. So this is a third thing. On top of that, this fulfillment company has to be based on the free trade zone. Otherwise, you cannot do cross-border. Most of the logistic companies have some kind of branch at free trade zone. So we have a consumer, we have the standard user interface for cell phones, we have now a payment, now we have a logistic company to make things apparently a bit more complex. Now we need to pick up that money and to connect with a payment gateway. So now we are in a financial transaction, and that payment gateway has to send back to our bank account. And here we start to think with our own logistics here. What happens if we have one less SKU in China? So this is the full circle. And before continuing, I will ask the audience if they have any question from this general perspective that I can answer, or I have made all the audience lost in this process. It's not difficult.
We are not receiving any question at the moment.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yep.
Notice that at the beginning, that should have been my first point, but I enter into the general picture for Estonians to understand how it works, this cross-border thing. But I would like to go to point one, which actually is why do we welcome you here as developers or as logistic companies or cargo companies? Because I can guarantee that cross-border is going to experience a real boom. The reason is not what everybody thinks, that trade, etc., is that competition will force, and it's happening now in China. I will show you an example, real, that happened here in Estonia. I checked it yesterday, where consumers will order directly from manufacturers. This is a trend worldwide. So this will do nothing but increase cross-border. In short message, wholesalers, intermediaries will tend to disappear because consumers will be able to talk directly and order directly from suppliers. So what we talked before is exactly this. You make snacks or you make whatever. The question is, should I have an importer, which will be a wholesaler for me, will develop the market? That is general trade, that is pretty cool. But also, you could try initially at least to sell directly to the consumer. So in this case, there are not intermediary importer wholesaler in the chain. Think the implications of this. If you do not have an intermediary wholesaler, that means that the gross margin of those wholesalers you can cut. In China, usually no importer will work below a 25% gross margin, which is a factor of 1.33. So that means that if you decide to embrace this, I'm not claiming this is better or worse. I'm claiming this is a way to test the waters in China. What you could do is say, wow, I'm selling directly to the consumer. So the whole margin, except the VAT, is coming to my pocket because the company selling directly is us from Estonia. So there is this at least 25% gross margin that I keep for me. And there is also some 18% gross margin that usually is the store or physical shop demanded gross margin that I also can save because I'm selling directly to consumer. Of course, you cannot get this money and put in your pocket because you will need this money for something else. You will need this money for promotion because Chinese will not buy from your WeChat shop just by magic. You will need to do a lot of digital marketing. But to the question, I don't do digital marketing because I don't have the money. The answer is maybe you can try cross-border because what you are saving as a margin that you are giving away to wholesaler and to shops, maybe you can try this at the beginning to test the waters and see how the Chinese respond. If you ask me if this customer to manufacturer is just a buzzword or an empty word from marketing people, I can say, I don't know for United States or for Germany. I can tell you that in China, this is working and super important. I think there are some more questions, right, Hilaria?
Sorry, I was muted. So we received one just now, and it indeed is quite of an interesting one regarding the products that can be sold via cross-border, whether there is any restriction or not.
You mean the products?
For products that can be sold via cross-border.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. And there is a list. The list is huge. Okay, it covers in practice whatever thing a consumer might want to purchase. A consumer, not a company. So if you ask me, can I sell a chair? Yes, you can sell a chair. Chairs are, or coaches are in the list as beers or snacks. If you ask me, can I sell a machine or a crane? Well, it's not in the list because I doubt any consumer will buy a crane for home. The list is in the report, and it is that you will distribute later. It covers all the HS code. It's sorted by HS code, so by code of export. So if you know, I want to know if whey powder is included here. You know, whey powder is called 0401. You go, you check 0401. Okay, it is here. Yes, I can export. Okay, so you will send it later, and this is a standard resource that you can deliver to the people. There are more questions.
Yeah, actually, the one thing over this list of approved products is that it was updated actually last year, 2019 in April, and there are possibilities that it will be enlarged even more. So I will send the updated list of 2019, and well, in any case, whether there will be another update, we will make sure that you receive it. We do have another question regarding the digital marketing, whether by selling via cross-border means that the emphasis is on average more on digital marketing. Is this true?
Well, think that if you decide to go cross-border, in principle, you do not have shops because it's all cross-border. It's virtually something is in Estonia, but we have in a free trade zone, and someone with the cell phone checks, I want to buy this snack so good from Estonia, we click here, and instead of traveling from Estonia, they are already, let's say, Shanghai, and they are delivered to your home. The whole process for Chinese government is like if you have been, the Chinese consumer has visited Estonia and purchased those snacks in a shop, okay? But you do not have retailers in China. So if you do not have retailers, how do you tell the consumers that you can sell to them? You need to reach them somehow. And I told before, they will never visit Estonia web pages to find out about your snacks. You need to reach them. They are not exploring you. You need to explore them. So yes, you need to do digital marketing. And that will be another module, I believe, of the advanced training and for 2020, 2021. That we will start soon, okay? One question I want to answer before it's asked. There are almost no taxes for cross-border products in that list, okay? So someone might say, Rafa, this is stupid. I don't understand, because on one side we have general trade, so importers that bring to China, let's say, snacks from Estonia, and the tax is this big, let's say 20%. And now you tell me that excluding VAT, if that is sold cross-border, then they do not pay any tax. Is this a kind of loophole in the system? Because for Chinese government, it's stupid. They are not getting any tax. And also, doesn't make any sense to have two ways to arrive to China with different taxation. Well, let me explain the reason. Behind any decision of Chinese government, there is always a business reason. First of all, this was already happening sending products to China, and it happens to Estonian products, even if you don't know it is happening. Ilaria and I, we know because we check the online stores in China. There are Estonian products in China and you don't know that they are there. Why? Because Chinese people, they send things to friends. They purchase, let's say, in Tallinn, and then they send to a friend, which in turn sells the thing in China without paying taxes because they send us a parcel. So notice that Chinese government is not getting any money from this thing imported as a personal item. So the scale of the business was such that they decided to make it legal. One way to make it legal is they started to this approach some years ago about cross-border. And now they are getting taxes for this. Not much, but they are getting taxes. So where before they were getting zero taxes, now they are getting taxes. Now they are very tough with these people outside China sending things to friends in China so friends can resell. They are very tough. But Chinese government attitude is, before being tough, I need to provide a solution because I do not want to create unrest on my citizens. They might be in Tallinn and maybe someone calls and says, buy for me this nice cosmetic from Estonia and send it to me. So they do not want to upset that consumer because maybe it's a citizen that says, okay, you will give me the money when I go back to China. But some people was doing this on a big scale. So they decided to put order, and let me tell you that it's not such loophole, because you could say, okay, if everyone in the world becomes cross-border and sends things to China cross-border, the Chinese government would collapse the collection of taxes, because there would be no collection of taxes for the products imported. Remember, I told you, first, this is for consumers. Second, there is a limit to the quantity that each Chinese consumer can spend. So Chinese government has, let's say, calculated very well how much would be if all the Chinese decided to start purchasing cross-border. And the number is very easy to calculate. There are 4 billion Chinese, and the quantity is 25,000 renminbi per Chinese. So it would be around 100 billion, would be some $10 billion or euros. Well, $10 billion is something like 0.03% of China trade. So it's a drop in the ocean. And remember that with this, Chinese consumers are happy, because we see many Chinese tourists, not this year, but China is 1.4 billion people. So although in Europe we see many people, there are not that many. I mean, Chinese, you talk with friends, they don't travel because only a fraction travels. And the fraction that does not have money to travel might feel jealous of people coming back and saying, I bought this in Tallinn or in Helsinki or wherever. So this way, the Chinese government gives citizens the opportunity to buy abroad to any single Chinese. So maybe they cannot travel to Tallinn, but still they can buy something on sale in Tallinn. Okay. While I write more questions, let me talk to take again my line of reasoning. Maybe customer to manufacturer is not important in other countries, but in China it is. All the time people says, I want to talk about Alibaba or AliExpress, but the reality is that cross-border platforms and online platforms in China is not that there are Alibaba, it's that there are hundreds. I mean, hundreds or thousands. So everyone says Alibaba, I want Alibaba, yeah, but you have Umore that probably you never heard. And Umore, by the way, does B2B also, or DHgate, or Jolly Chick. If you go to Dubai, people is purchasing from China with Jolly Chick, which is a company based in Hangzhou. So they don't use AliExpress. You go to Middle East and or Russia and it's all Jolly Chick, or Xiaohongshu, or Biyao. So there are hundreds. And this consumer to manufacturer approach tries to get rid of all intermediaries in the process. So for cargo people, expect more cargo. Why? Because Chinese want European consumers also to purchase as much as possible. And they will facilitate to receive things cross-border. That means a lot of parcels arriving to us in Europe. And what I have explained before for the WeChat shop is doing exactly the opposite, selling to the Chinese consumer directly. So why do we welcome you here? For the people, logistics people, because expect much more cargo, because you have these AliExpress people, but these Jumor people also, and they do B2B. You have DHgate, you have Jolly Chick, you have Xiaohongshu, hundreds, thousands, and they are thinking to sell directly, connecting the factories with the consumers, all right? So let me tell you an example. As I know many of you, some of you also know, I mean, we know each other, not all, but those who know me, they know that I am a smoker. I apologize, but I am. So what you see here, this is the ashtray of the office building. There is only one. There is one place for smokers where we escape to smoke a bit, and there is an ashtray. All right? So let me make a demonstration of what is consumer to manufacturing direct. While I was smoking yesterday, I prepared this test. I got my cell phone, I got to WeChat, I make a picture of this scanning the item, which is this ashtray standing outside the building, okay? And after the scanning, what I got is that WeChat told me, you can buy this thing in China from a manufacturer, and the cost is 630 yuan. So listen, now I'm talking about the strange thing I never thought, which is a standing ashtray, but now I know how to buy direct and the price. But I wanted to know more. I wanted to know, by the way, what is the cheapest offer from manufacturer I can find? So I found this one, which is about 71 euros, direct. But be alert, because Chinese online platforms for exports, they will try to convince you to purchase direct for one reason, because they are planning to use, no, not planning, they do already, to tell you what would be the cost of this if you buy in Estonia. So remember that we have found this 71 euros, but they also tell me, well, you can buy in Estonia, up to you, but this is the price there by the general trade importer in Estonia. So you see, they are very aggressive. They want to get rid of intermediaries. But by the way, compare the prices, 71, 220. It is the same item, right? So this way, where consumers will reach directly manufacturers, and China is the factory of the world, is why we can say that cross-border will grow. Because we will, many of us, we will turn direct to manufacturer to send us something. Even saying, by the way, we want it red. Maybe the factory answers, I will not deliver one red color. But the moment they receive 5 red colors, they will consortiate with other manufacturers to have a line red, because the world wants red. So they will react on time to satisfy personal needs. So this change on cross-border is caused by this consumer to manufacturer trend that in other countries might be a dream or a thing of a consultant. In China is the reality. And the proof is this ashtray that I took the picture yesterday. So 71 euros, 1 unit, delivered in 3 days. And this is the price of the wholesaler that sells to retailers in China, in Estonia. You see, it's a 200% difference, and this is very relevant, right? Okay, going back to the shop. For developers of user interfaces, there are some differences in China that you need to take into account, which is Chinese never use desktop. They live with a cell phone in hand. So I know in Europe the trend is to develop on Apple screens, very neat designs where you see a fantastic large screen, almost empty. And this is the feeling of Chinese when they see a very nice European screen, almost empty. They believe it's unfinished. While we feel, what a nice design. We have this whole Apple large screen with only one item on a corner. I tell you, in the Chinese heart, they think this is not finished, right? Because why you use only a fraction of your screen to show a product and the rest is empty? It might be a good design approach for Western style, but I tell you, Chinese love cluttering. And love cluttering, I mean everything group, because they will use a cell phone. They will go in the subway checking what you have in your shop. So they will go up, down, passing a lot of information. They don't mind that the shop is not pages, length. You need to move your fingers 25 times to arrive to the end. They are accustomed to that. So it's a different design. Also, you need to think about resolution. It's not resolution for a large screen. It's the resolution for a small screen, which is a cell phone. So you have to have the best pictures of your products. Otherwise, the resolution will not be good. So this is part of the things you need to take into account. If you want to have a shop and will be part of the trainings, you need to be able to tell a story. It's not only, this is my medicine or my snack. You need to tell all the time who you are, where you live, to show pictures of you, the owner, the factory, this and that, and they check it and they comment. And managing a WeChat shop is not easy because the Chinese want to know about you and will make questions before purchasing, during the purchase, after the purchase, and finally will recommend or not. So, and you need to respond. If you don't respond, they believe that you are dead and that you are not working because it's the way. They can ask you, oh, I've seen this nice thing in your shop. And maybe, again, let's put the snack. Do you have an onion flavor? That could be a question. If they don't receive an instantaneous response saying yes or no, but very interesting, always in China, tell, if it's no, the answer say, but very interesting suggestion. We'll let you know. Because if you don't respond, they will forget you. These guys do not respond. Okay, so managing a shop is a work on itself. And answering the comments is a work on itself. So you might be saving money because you do not have an importer in the middle. But on the other hand, you have to spend money to respond to clients. And now it comes why we talk to developers and system integrator or logistic companies that can do the whole thing. Why we are saying this? Because maybe you do not have money to pay an employee responding the questions because you are not selling that much. What integrators do in China? Well, they say, we have a person for that. We share the person with 20 other companies. We have a person we pay and we will charge you for this person X money. And this is the person that under your instructions and training will be alert and respond questions. And because we work round the clock, we don't have one person, we have three to cover 24 hours, Saturdays and Sundays, because online is like this. So when I talk to people in Estonia, would you like to enter into this business and offer this service to companies that do water or snacks or whatever product for consumers? This company has to take into account that has to offer not only the integration and the technology, and I will do, which is a very naive approach, your user interface. What I do with the user interface can be very nice, but I need more. I need to integrate with payments. I need to integrate with logistics, and I need someone to take care of changing the prices, of responding questions, of guaranteeing that the images are up to date, of adding content, making changes constantly to transmit to the consumer in China that things are changing. So this is the whole concept we wanted to transmit today. And maybe that employee is too much for Estonian small company. But that employee, which could be based in Tallinn or 3 employees covering around the clock, they could be taking the support for 25 Estonian companies because they can be answering the onion flavor. I talked to the director of development and says that by the end of the summer, something like that. But could have another company that is a cosmetic company. Yes, we have a version with 125 milliliter. Things like that. So we have to have at all times all the picture. Returns. There are returns. If there is a return, we have to return the money instantly. In China, you don't discuss with the consumer, whatever the reason. Usually, what the companies do is they have a person in charge. They don't discuss the return, and because you always have in your WeChat account money, some money, you can return the money instantly to the consumer, instantly. All right. Managing the physical returns of the product, you need to discuss with your logistic operator at free trade zone what you do with that. It is possible legally. 1 year ago was not possible legally to return a cross-border product because it was understood you bought this in Estonia, so you cannot return. It's already in Chinese territory, but now can be returned. All right. This is to be discussed with the people that will help you with the fulfillment in China. You need to do campaigns, you need to do analytics, so it's more than merely a user interface. For connecting, it is not difficult, but needs to be done. Okay. The Chinese will pay renminbi. They do not care about the price in euros. Don't tell anything because they will see a price in renminbi. This is what they will use as a reference. Usually the connection is via APIs, quite simple for people that knows how to develop this type of apps. Okay, and we have a list of payment gateways, but for the supplier, it is difficult to take care of these things. That's why we are looking for some Estonian company that might want to take care of these things. So as you see, this takes care of transferring the money in euros back to your bank account. The point everybody forgets, we need someone at the free trade zone. That someone is a logistic operator that first will offer us a space. So we need to talk to them how many what's the price per square meter to hold their 2 pallets. I want to hold initially for my stock at free trade zone 2 pallets, which if you're selling, I don't know, beers, it's about 1,400 beers. Okay. And then depending on how they order, I could book more space and I will pay you monthly. Usually the logistic operator makes money with the fulfillment. They will offer you a standard fee for delivering in 24 or 48 hours across China. All right. And they will charge you. They will deduct VAT and also their fees. They are quite clear doing these things. realize that the logistics operator will not discuss with you the logistic fee and the consumer. The logistic operator will tell you, Rafa, each time your pallets are in free trade zone Shanghai. Okay, for delivering 1 bag of snacks to someone in Qingdao, I will charge you 12 yuan, which is 1.4 euro. Okay? And I don't care about your consumer. Now, in your shop, Rafa, you can put the final price, including the delivery, or make a breakdown of how much is the snack and how much is the delivery. But this is up to you, because some people only put the final price, which is what Chinese care, including delivery. Why? Because if you have a nice client that is purchasing about, let's say, 200 renminbi, you can say, logistic operator, I will pay your fees, but officially this client purchasing more than this will pay 0. So you can manipulate your prices and discuss with the logistic operator to pay the fees apart, full paying, of course. So you don't need to put the shipment cost into the cell phone, because Chinese don't care. They want to receive at home or in the locker in the lobby of their compound. All right. The other element, back office operations. You have received the money, but you still need to do a lot of things. Someone has to take care, either here or in China, of comments. This product is super good. Thank you for your confidence, in Chinese, because they don't speak English. Oh, I'm very upset because the product was damaged and I didn't notice until I opened. I will send to you another one. Please send back to this address. So you need to take care of the comments. So this you can have with a company providing this in comprehensive service, or you can do it yourself. I don't see Estonian companies doing themselves alone because it takes too much time. That's why we are looking for some companies in competition in Estonia that would like to jump into this service, which, by the way, if you provide this comprehensive service, it's not for Estonian companies. A Finland company, a Pole company, or Latvia, or a Spanish company might say, you take care of my WeChat shop, I want to do with you. In this case, the products would not be shipped from Tallinn to the free trade zone in Shanghai. It would be shipped, let's say, from Madrid to the free trade zone, but to provide the service is irrelevant where the supplier is located. So there is an ability to scale up. It's not that the companies doing these things are limited to Estonian companies. They can offer the service to whomever, to Russian companies if they want. Okay, so in the back office, you need to keep account of what is left in the stock you have in China. If you need to send more, you need to manage returns, make some tax accounting, make typical back office things. Okay. This is the report where all these things I went through the last 75 minutes is explained in whole detail. I authored it 2 years ago, still is fully valid. And you will find answer to all the questions that you might have. And if not, of course, Ilaria and I would put our emails in the front page of the presentation and in the last page. So they will receive this presentation, right, Ilaria? And also it's recorded, I believe.
Yes, the webinar is being recorded, and I will make sure to send the presentations to. And the
so in much more detail, for instance, here I explain warehouse and logistic operator at the free trade zone. I remind the audience that we have, at least that I know, 2 logistic companies from Estonia with operations in China. I believe in Shenzhen, the 2, or one in Shanghai, the other in Shenzhen, I'm not sure. Okay. So this is what I have to tell. I told at the beginning it would not be 2 hours unless there are more questions. But we will go through all these topics frequently through this year, and I foresee that cross-border will explode both ways, from Europe to China, from China to Europe. This is good news for the cargo companies and logistics. For the suppliers in Estonia, I understand they only want to export. And we will help them, of course, because we are paid for that, but also to help all the participants in the supply chain. So we will continue with these things. Any more questions? If not, Ilaria, I'll get back to you.
No, we do not have any more questions coming in. So I don't know if we want to wait a couple of minutes more, Rafa, as you prefer. Otherwise, I think that we can
moderate this.
Webinar.
So as you wish.
Because I'm not seeing any questions, so maybe we can just leave the companies to shape their thoughts a little bit around this topic. We are being thanked for today's initiative from the participants. So thank you, Lisi, for the compliment. We really hope that we will manage to gather more questions, especially from software houses, because one of the key things for this webinar today was to have the interest, to gauge a little bit the interest of software houses in Estonia that could eventually provide this solution to the other Estonian companies interested in selling to China. So
my opinion is two ways, because I've seen it happening in China. You can be a software house entering into understanding logistics and freight forwarding, but I've seen in China the opposite. I've seen logistic companies going up the supply chain and understanding software development. So it can be both ways. But we felt that we had the obligation to tell the Estonia industry, and for logistic companies, it's inevitable the increase of cross-border cargo, because in that building we have the office, there is only one ashtray standing on the street, which can be ordered cross-border for half the price. And this will not be longer. I'm not making predictions, but this type of thing no longer would be in a wholesaler intermediated, unless it's frequent replacement. But this ashtray on the street is there 2 years ago and will be there for another 2 years. So it's not like you are changing this every week or every day. So this is altering the whole trade structure, and we will see more cargo cross-border, which is good for some people. For other intermediaries, might not be that good, but this is a trend we cannot avoid, either in Estonia or Poland or Spain or anywhere.
Very good. I think since there are no more questions coming in, we can close today's webinar. Thanking all the participants for joining us, and I will follow up with all the relevant documents for today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you all. See you next time. Ciao.